Out of all the fighters in Kengan Ashura, Haruo is definitely the one with the most potential. Born from a remote mountain tribe deep in the Himalayas, Haru is a descendant of the Gurkhans, a brutal mercenary force infamous for their role in devastating Japanese troops in World War II. Now, Haru is the strongest among all the Gurkhans and considered the avatar of the warrior god Indra. Haruo is standing at nearly 8 feet tall and is capable of moving his 700-pound body with ease, doing backflips just to avoid attacks. You would think that a fighter with this kind of background and skill set would be unstoppable in the Kengan universe. However, Haruo failed to make it past even the first round of the tournament. So how does someone with such a solid background make it as far as fighters like Gozo Morobochi and Nezu? Well, in today's video, we're going to take a look at just that and much more when it comes to Haru's character. What is good, y'all? Sync here, and today we're going to talk about the big back of Kengan himself, the big eater, the destroyer, the avatar of Indra, Kono Haruo. Now, Haruo is a character that stems a lot from Legacy, and I know that he is a fan favorite from a lot of people, and so I'm hopefully going to do this one justice similar to how the Sekibayashi video was done. May it rest in peace. I found that the best way to go about this video is to start off with Haru's backstory, because before you can actually learn about Haruo, you got to learn about Haru. So let's go ahead and start off with Haru's backstory, starting off when he was born in the mountain tribe over in the Himalayas.
Go back there, where there are no games, no manga, no computers. Go back to that village. No way!
While Haru was living in the Himalayas, he became a living legend by the time he was 15 and gained the attention of his employer, Kono Akio. His story had several tales, almost like a folklore if you think about it. At 6, he could lift a grown adult over his head with ease. At 10, he was already the tallest man in his village. At 11, he killed a snow leopard with his bare hands. At 13, he fought and killed a mountain bear just to protect his friend Yaku. Now, I should note as well that all these feats of fighting animals and everything like that are similar to the stories that were told of the actual avatar of Indra. However, the most pivotal story from Haru's background is when he was 15 and participated in a trial of manhood for his village. Each youth was expected to descend the mountainside and kill a mountain goat and carry it back up using only a knife. A single goat is estimated to weigh about 80 kilograms or 170 pounds if you're an American. Haru didn't just come back with one goat, okay? He came back with 6 goats, enough for every single participant all in one climb, and he didn't use a weapon. Haru then became the village chief, and stories about him reached even Japan. Of course, this is when his employer Kono Akio started getting word of him. But by this point, Haru's happy to help out his village and his friends, but there's always been one thing that's bothered him since birth. Much like Wakatsuki and his Superman syndrome, Haru was never able to go all out in a fight. Not even bears could match up to his strength. You remember how people were going about, 100 men versus one gorilla? Try sending 100 men versus one bear. Let me see how that turns out. Anyways, Akio saw Haru and immediately planned on using him to dominate the Kengan matches. Akio had offered Haru the one thing that the Himalayas couldn't, and that's the chance to fight strong opponents without holding back. After some convincing from his tribe, Haru then agreed to go with him and was soon adopted, taking on the name Kono Haru. After being taken to Japan, Haru was astounded by the advancements of modern technology, most notably being able to eat food without having to hunt for it, something that's always been commonplace to him since birth. You see, Akio's plan was to keep Haru hooked on the luxuries of modern lifestyle so that he would continue to fight for him in the Kengan matches. And this worked exactly as he had planned. And Haru was absorbed into a world of vices thanks to his new environment. Video games, eating, self-satisfaction, all this became his norm. And Haru started to gain weight, wearing glasses, and became addicted to sweets and video games. This led to Haru going from Kono Haru to the 700-pound giant that we know him as Kono Haruo. As to why that O is there, I like to think that it's from him, trying to say his name while breathing heavy because all the weight change and everything like that. It's kind of like how Rick Ross did his ad-libs in songs. But anyways, despite his weight change and everything, it didn't actually slow down Haru at all. Haru kept up his side of the bargain, dominating the Kengan matches before the Annihilation Tournament, racking up a solid 4-0 win streak and 310 million in assets. Now, around this time, there was a mini tournament held for the gaming console companies and the Kengan Association, and they were fighting over who would make the next big gaming console. Haru absolutely wiped the floor with all of the other fighters, and still being the massive powerhouse that he is, his brute strength just allowed him to literally sweep them all up off the floor. Like you see right here, he probably grabbed one of them by his freaking skull. So while he wasn't actually fighting though, Haru was the security guard for Akio and spent most of his time just gaming in his room, probably like you, where he's probably the Spider-Man man who keeps asking for heals while dodging them in rivals. But anyways, let's go on to his match with Okoye.
I'm stronger than you are! In all the Himalayas! I'm the strongest!
This was the first time that Haruo legitimately faced an opponent who could withstand his attacks. So to him, it was annoying as he had been used to matches ending quickly and his opponents just being simply inferior. This is where Haruo's childlike behavior and inexperience starts to take form, where although Okoye is still firing attacks directly at his knee, Haru is not really blocking them, and he's still trying to do these backflips. Movements are going to cause a lot of strain onto the knees. So once Hayama's analysis was complete, Haruo was no match for Okoye and lost the match. But that's when the Avatar of Indra returned. This revert back to the Avatar of Indra is when Haru subconsciously woke up inside of Haruo, and through anime logic, Haruo's body slowly started to revert back to when he was Haru. See, Haruo's body quickly started losing weight at a rapid pace, and Hanafusa was literally foaming at the mouth wanting to dissect him at this point. And so, by him shedding the excess weight from his body, Haru's attacks became unbelievably faster and his strikes became stronger. So you take this giant, this monster that was already rather powerful, and now his attacks are not only damaging Okoye, but they are rattling this man's skeleton with each strike. This shift led to Hayama having to reassess Haru, but it took too long and Okoye was prepared to kill Haru at this point. So, honestly, if you think about it, Okoye may have lost this match, because if Haru was still able to go for it and still able to wail on him, Okoye necessarily did not have a counter to it outside of killing him. And this is Haru, the Avatar of Indra. We don't know how capable he is in a 1v1 versus a person who's rather strong as a human. Know that Taru has one technique, and that's Bear Killer. I don't know about you, but if you're getting hit by a move that's named Bear Killer, I think that also counts for Human Killer as well. But that's just me being me. Although Okoye was prepared to kill Haru, thankfully, because Okoye was striking Haruo's knees so frequently in the early part of the match, his knees gave out on him, thus allowing Okoye to finish the match without having to kill him. Now, this is where things get really interesting for Haru, because now he has two ways he can go. After losing, he was fired by Akio and aimlessly wandered the island until he was confronted by Sekibayashi. So instead of going back to the village or continuing a life of vices, Haru found a third option in trying to better himself with the help of Seki in pro wrestling. Haru's story in Ashura kind of just ends with him being Sekibayashi's protege. And with that, we continue on to Omega. Before Omega takes place, Haru starts working for Super Japan Pro Wrestling under the name Machine Jaguar, the cyborg of the savannah. He makes a few cameo appearances as well in Danbaru alongside Seki when the girls are learning about Hindu squads. But as far as fighting, Haru's days are pretty numbered because that injury to his knee was actually rather substantial. Now, as a fighter, he does pick up some other techniques such as the Sekibayashi style wrestling, which is just pro wrestling, but it's cooler because it's Sekibayashi. But anyways, that's all that he accomplished before Omega. Now let's go ahead and talk about what Haru's done in Omega. It's not much, okay? So during Omega, he doesn't take part in the Kengan versus Purgatory tournament, and he doesn't have a real match until he actually faces off against Himuro. I'm sorry, until he faces off against I Am Himuro, where he wins the match, but is unable to continue the tournament because of his knee injury and fatigue. Overall, Haru is by definition the gentle giant of the series. He's a character with the potential to rival powerhouses, but he lacks the formal discipline and skill set to compete with fighters of that caliber. While copying Seki-style wrestling does give him actual techniques to use, until he masters them or comes up with his own moves that benefit him a lot more, he'll still be considered a subpar fighter, just having insane strength. Some improvements that I would love to see from Haru would definitely be reverting back to Haru and wreaking havoc as a true avatar of Indra, but of course that's what everyone is waiting for. I don't think we're ever going to get that though. And another thing is for him to focus more so on explosive power techniques, much like Wakatsuki. See, Sekibayashi's style is more like an endurance kind of battle, whereas fighters like Waka and actually Kyozan would be a really good person for Haru to learn from, because Haru's not really a sustained fighter. Seki is a sustained fighter, where Haru has such insane burst strength, he needs to utilize that to his advantage. Well, I think he can learn a lot if he adopted sumo and learned from Kyozan's dojo. This will combine all the benefits that Haru already has, his size, strength, speed, and explosive strength, while also giving him an actual fighting technique to follow. And with that, that's going to conclude today's video on Haru, or Haruo, whichever one you really want to call him though. It's not really a difference anymore. But like I said, he's a really great character with a lot of potential, but until he builds up that mental fortitude and starts using his own strengths, he's not going to be that good, just lackluster at best. He's just going to be the what if character. Like literally, this is the what if character of Kengan. It's pretty sad concerning where he started from. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Y'all take care, and I'll see you all for the next one.
I make a motherfucker say, oh yeah, I'm cold as a lion with no hair. If you ever see me fighting in the forest with a grizzly bear, help the bear!